Welcome to Milkshake Monday, episode 53. I'm Anita Helm. I'm the wife of Pastor William Helm. We have a lot to get to tonight. It says in the title for episode 53, Don't Bow, Stand Strong in Your Faith. And I'm going to use that title off and on, but I want you to see a couple things before I start the teaching. What I want you to see is me. I am a learner. I am growing in my knowledge of Jesus Christ just like you. So if you think when you saw the little cute Bitmoji where Milkshake Monday has her finger on a dumbbell holding it up, that's not me. I am growing and trying to get muscles in the Lord just like you and just like my husband. Every day we want to get stronger in the Lord. And that happens by us going through times where we stumble and we fall and we have to go to God just like you and pray and ask for forgiveness. The reason why I tell you that, because I think it still gets twisted when people see pastors and pastors' wives and they think, oh, they somehow have it all figured out. And you start to think that way, and you really lose perspective that all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. So when I go through challenges, it's the same as you. Even this past weekend, I had my heart set out on something on Friday night, and by Saturday, my face was down on the floor. I was disappointed. And then God had to speak to me and said, Nita, that's something you wanted. That's something you jumped out and tried to do on your own. And I didn't stop. Just like some of you, and just stop and ask the Lord, is that what you wanted for me, or is that what I wanted for me? And if it's something he wants, he'll make a way. And if it's something he doesn't want, I always tell him, I said, stop it in its tracks. And so when it got stopped in its tracks, my little feelings got hurt, and I got sad, and I had to get me some turnip greens and some iced tea and some sandwich and feel better, because I'm an emotional eater. I'm not lying about that. But God just has to say, Anita, trust me. And I have those times just like you. But tonight we're going to talk about where you face the challenges of Satan trying to attack you. And here's examples again and again where I want you to understand what God says in his word. Nothing new is under the sun. There is nothing new under the sun. We had bell bottoms way back in the 70s. It's coming back. Afros, that's what my husband say. A lot of stuff is coming back. But the same tricks that Satan does, the same purpose of what he's trying to do is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And I want to start with Isaiah 14 because I want to understand you to understand something. That with Satan and the people and the things that he puts in your path to cause you to stumble, to cause you to bow down and to give up and to be discouraged and depressed, and just all these disappointments, all these D's, depression, disappointment, despair, disagreeable, D, all the D's you can imagine. He puts it in your path because ultimately he wants you to give up and say you don't trust God and I don't want to do anything regarding God. But I want you to see why he does that, because he wants you to bow down. Remember about the teaching about Christ bowing down to him? Look at Isaiah 14. We're going to start at verse 11. Now, you got to remember that Lucifer started out as the musician, the worship leader. And he got to doing all that worshiping of God. And he said, I like that for myself. And in the examples we're going to talk about today about not bowing down and standing strong in your faith, you're going to see that same temperament of everything behind the evil that comes in the stories in the Bible that we're going to talk about and in your life. People want to be praised, but it's not the people. We're not fighting against flesh and blood. We are fighting against spiritual wickedness. So look what it says in verse 11 of Isaiah 14. Your pomp is brought down to Sheol, which is hell. And the sound of your stringed instruments, the maggot is spreading under you, and worms cover you. And it says, how you are fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning, how you are cut down to the ground, you who weaken the nations. For you have said in your heart, this is what all the enemies say every day to you. For you've said in your heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will also sit on the mount of the congregation, on the farthest side of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High God. Now, I'm not making this political, but I want you to see that when God says nothing new is under the sun, it's no coincidence that you had the Holocaust and people wanted to be destroyed because they were different. It's no coincidence that you see some of the massacres and genocides you see in Africa, because they don't believe like us. They don't act like us. We're going to kill them all. And now you see this us and them, brown, yellow, black, I don't care. You're not the same. Therefore, I don't really want you to be a part. This is not new, but I want you to see it out of the scriptures. So when you see things happening, now I want to give you these key words. Y'all know what an executive order is, whether it's a Republican or Democrat. Executive order is a decree from the highest person in the land to say, go do something. That's a decree. Executive order. For the sake of tonight and listening to this teaching, I want you to remember decree is the same thing as executive order. A king is the same thing as somebody who could be a prime minister. It could be a president. It could be somebody who's whatever they're calling that person in that country. It's the leader of the country. So when you see this in here, and then you see a saint of God, somebody who's holding to their faith, and then you see these other people, they're going to be called the others, and in this case, the others are the Jews, but it could be any brown person, any yellow person, any kind of in-between, white and black and in-between person. It's just somebody that's other than you and what you look like. And I want you to see that because we got some serious things going on and people are staying quiet. And when you see the very thing about people keeping silent, it's the same as what the scriptures are talking about in Esther. So let's go start in Esther chapter 3. Set the stage. There's a king. And the king has a beautiful wife, and she decides, I'm not doing what you're saying. And so he said, I'm going to get another person. His advisor said, I'm going to get another person. That person turns out to be Esther. Esther is got a loved one named Mordecai. So here we are. You know what's going on. Esther becomes king's queen. So then you got this special advisor. I'm going to use special advisor because that's what we use now. But we're going to call him a special advisor to the king. And that's why I won't call names. I won't say letters of first name, last name, what we got in our situation in the United States of America. But just imagine that this man Haman, who we're going to talk about, is a special advisor to the king. And he got some evil intent because he wants to be praised, just like Satan. And when you start to see these people that always want to be praised, just think about, oh, Lucifer, how you've fallen, how you've been brought down to Sheol. It may not happen yet, but it's coming. It says in Esther, it's chapter 3. It says here, after these things, King Ahasuerus promoted Haman. So he's been promoted, the son of Hammedatha the Agite, and advanced him and set his seat above all the princesses who were with him. So this man is riding high. Everybody got to bow to him. Everybody got to pay homage to him. You are the special assistant to the king. It says in verse 2, and all the king's servants who were within the king's gate bowed and paid homage to Haman, for so the king had a command concerning him. But, here's the but Mordecai would not bow or pay homage. You don't bow and you don't pay and you don't bless sin and evil, even if it means your life, death. You losing your promotion. You losing that nice house of yours. You're losing your status. You don't bow to evil, even if it means death. But look what happens. Then the king's servants who were within the gates, here are the instigators to sin. Instigators are in your life too. At your job, in your family, in your church. Instigators are everywhere. You don't bow down. You stand firm in your faith. It says, then the king's servants who were within the king's gates said to Mordecai, why do you transgress the king's commands? Why is it you always praying? Why is it you always talking about the Lord Jesus Christ when you know they're not supposed to talk? Why are you always trying to do things to uplift people? Why are you doing that? Do they really want to know why? Or they want you to say, why did you stop doing that? And get on the program of the evil that we are following and stop trying to be holier than thou. None of us are holier than thou. It says here, verse 4, now it happened when they, the instigators, when they spoke to him daily, and he would not listen to them, that they told it. And that's what evil does. They told it. They told it to Haman, to see whether Mordecai's words would stand, whether he was really standing in his integrity on the Lord and believing his God was worthy to be praised and nobody else deserved the bow. Was he really serious, or was he just playing? Was he fronting? It says, would his words stand? For Mordecai had told them that he was a Jew. Uh-oh, he different. He's different. He ain't the same. He one of them. He's a Jew, Haman. And look what's going on. Verse 5. When Haman saw that Mordecai did not bow or pay homage, but he disdained to lay hands on Mordecai alone. Here's where evil will start to get bigger and bigger. It says here, but he didn't want to put hands on Mordecai alone, for they told of the nation of Israel how God delivered them from Egypt, how God delivered them from this situation, how God, through David, was cutting off Philistines' heads, giants' heads. He had been hearing all about the stories. And guess what story he also heard about? Remember the priest? Remember how Samuel told King Saul, cut off the head of Agag? Guess what? Haman is from that line. Because of that disobedience, you got this man hearing about all of these people, the Jews, and how the Lord of Israel saved them. And guess what? He heard part of the story where there was this king, and the king got cut down. And then he realized, that's my family. I'm going to get them. And it says here, and so it said, for they had told him of the people of Mordecai. Instead, Haman sought to destroy all the Jews who were throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus, the people of Mordecai. Now I want you to jump down to verse 8. Here's the executive order coming down from the evil one who wants to perpetuate evilness throughout the land. And we have a gullible king who doesn't know enough to read and understand what he's getting ready to sign, but anything can be put in front of him and he just signs it because it looks good. He's a king. He can do what he wants. And these special assistants with their evil intent can put anything in front of him. Does it sound familiar? Can I get an amen? Does it sound familiar what's happening in today's society? Verse 8 says, then Haman said to King Ahasuerus, there is a certain people scattered about and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of your kingdom. Their laws are different. All these different. They different laws. They eating different. They smelling different. They talking different. They're dancing different. They're acting different. They're just not us. They're them. And they're different. And we got to get rid of them. Now, in America, we may be putting them in the cages, putting them in prison. Somebody's benefit from this. But this is evil happening. And look what he says. Their laws are different from all other peoples, and they do not keep the king's laws. Therefore, it is not fitting for the king to let them remain. He's talking about genocide. He's talking about killing the nation of Israel, all the Jews that are in the land. Just kill them. And you think somebody would take a pause when you hear that. But here's the king. Pulls his ring off. And the guy says, if it pleases the king, let a decree, executive order, let a decree be written in that they be destroyed. We don't want them here. Let's destroy them. And I will pay 10,000 talents of silver into the hands of those who do the work to bring it into the king's treasuries. You can make some money off of this. There's some money you can put in your coffers. You can get some profit. You can get some more capital. If you think you're rich, I can make you richer. You won't do it because I'm telling you, I can make you richer. Let me give you something that you really want. You want to be richer, right? Let me do this evil because you want money. It says, so the king took off his signet ring from his hand and gave it to Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the enemies of the Jews. Now, I can't read all of this, but I'm going to tell you enough of it. Chapter 5. Let's go to chapter 5. What has happened in 4 that I want you to appreciate is that when the decree, the executive order goes out in the land, all the Jews are going into sackcloth and mourning and devastation. This news, they're getting ready to be slaughtered. The king has ordered in an executive order, a decree through his signet ring to say that everybody that's a Jew can be killed and slaughtered, not even knowing that his own wife is a Jew because she's kept her mouth closed because Mordecai said, don't tell it. And she didn't tell it. But look what happens. Esther sees that her uncle is down there on sackcloth. That means something ain't right. So she sends one of the eunuchs down there and gives him some clothes. And he said, And she said, what's going on? And he finds out the eunuch has come to tell what's going on. And so he gives Esther, through the eunuch, the decree. And she says, oh, wow. And then he said, well, you got to do something about this. And bottom line, Esther said, King ain't called me in for 30 days. It's been 30 days. I can't just go in. That's not the way this thing works. And Esther wants to explain to her, everything ain't in my hands to fix this. And so Mordecai says in verse 13, and Mordecai told them to answer Esther back. And this is what he says. I know I said 5, but I'm going to tell you what Esther 4:13 says. Do not think in your heart that you will escape in the king's palace any more than all the other Jews. I want to stop there for some of the Christians in 21st century, 2019. You think that you're in your palace of the palace of your house, the palace of the job that's paying the bills today, the palace of the 401ks and the stock and the retirement, the palace of your kids doing all right, the palace of you having a car that runs, the palace of you having money in your pocket to pay for the car, pay for the insurance, pay for the gas, pocket of your health. All that's in the palace of what you think you got it going on right now. But any moment, all that can go away. And Mordecai is trying to tell Esther, I know you think you all right in the palace, but don't be fooled. This thing is going to hit us, and maybe we won't be the ones delivered. God will deliver the Jews, but don't think that because you're in the palace, all will be well. And I love what he says here. Verse 14 says, for if you remain completely silent at this time, and that's what I think some of us Christians who are completely silent when we see evil going. This is not about Trump. This is not about Republican, Democrat. This is about evil going on. Evil going on the television, evil going on in your house, evil going on the streets, in your neighborhoods, at your job, at your church possibly, evil going on. And you just stay quiet because you don't want to mess up the palace of your comfort zone. And God is saying, stand up in faith. Speak up in faith. So Esther says what all of us have to stand. How do you stand up when you face death? How do you stand up when you have an enemy in your face causing you to possibly die? How do you stand up? It's not barbells of faith where you're so strong in your muscles. You have to have a trust that's the size of a mustard seed, it says. The size of a mustard seed. And it says here in verse 16 of chapter 4, it says, go gather all the Jews. And basically says we're going to fast and we're going to pray to God. And if I die, so be it. And some of us are so afraid of our jobs dying, our relationships dying, that palace of comfort dying. And God is saying, would you please get some muscles for Christ? Would you please stand and hold fast to the Lord and stop being a wimp and stop crying about everything? All the Christians are crying. We are crying about every little thing. And instead of having muscles in Christ, oh, I can't get my way today. Oh, I can't get with my 15 pair of shoes today. Oh, I can't pay the bills of where I overspent today. Just crying. And God is saying, if you would stop crying and stand up in faith, maybe the world, maybe your house would change. Well, you don't believe me. Let's go to Esther chapter 5. What happens is the enemy always thinks they have an upper hand. They don't see the prayer life. They don't see you trusting in God when the bank account is empty, when the job's given the pink slip, when hardship has come in your health, hardship has come in death in your family, hardship has come on left and right, up and down, everywhere. They just say, oh, you down for the count. And if you read chapter 5 of Esther, you'll see that Mordecai didn't even know all of the things conspiring against him. That all this stuff that Haman had going on, he wasn't just good enough to say, okay, I'm going to kill Mordecai with the decree. He got so ticked off that Mordecai still was refusing to bow to him. He was playing, let me go get the gallows. I don't want to wait until the day in Adar, the month of Adar, to go and slaughter him and all his people. I want to get him on the gallows now. I want to destroy him now. I don't want to wait. And the enemy says, all right. I'm gonna get her now. I'm gonna get him now. He's a little upset. Let me get him now while his head is low. Not knowing there's been fasting. Not knowing there's been prayer. Not knowing that God, who is the help for all of us, is working things out. You don't see God all through Esther. You don't even see the word God. You don't see the word Jesus Christ. You don't see the Almighty God in any of the words, but he's all throughout every page. Because Esther has a little bit of some lunch. She's going to have some lunch. And in the midst of the lunch, she's going to be just starting the plan of God little by little. Because when I first read this, I said, why did you tell him the first day? But she's been praying. And when you pray, you start to learn the timing of God. We want things instant. But God does things in timing. So, Esther invites the king and Haman to a little lunch. And in the lunch, the king says, up to half of my kingdom. Ask it. She don't ask because God hadn't given her the timing to ask. She said, come tomorrow. Come back tomorrow. Bring Haman too. And so Haman gets the plan with the gallows. Gonna hang Mordecai. He's just so happy because Esther invited him to the dinner. It's just him. He's the man. He's a special advisor. It's just him. He's got the king's ear. He's got the queen's ear. He has got it going on. People paying homage to him. They're bound to him. But that Mordecai, he just won't bow. He just won't bow. I gotta get rid of him. So here's where God steps in. Somebody can't sleep at night. Guess who it is? It's the king. King can't sleep. And king says to him, to the guy that he was reading the chronicles of the king, and the king hears about Mordecai who saved his life. And king said, hey, what we do for that guy? And they answer, we ain't do nothing, king. We ain't do nothing. And look how God works. Okay, who's in the court? It said Haman's in the court. He get ready to tell the king, I'm getting ready to hang Mordecai. He getting on my nerves. I'm getting some permission to hang this dude. And then he doesn't even realize when the king is saying, I want to honor somebody. But see, when you have an enemy that wants to be praised all the time, you just say bow and honor. And they immediately say, you remember that song that says, what's that song? You're so vain. I bet you think this song is about you. Remember that song? You're so vain, so vain. Anyway, when Haman hears that the king wants to honor somebody, he says, who could the king want to honor but me? So here's all the things I've been dreaming of. Put that the horse you've ridden, king. Put the robe that you've worn, king. And have a man that you honor, king. Go all through the town and the province and say, here's what the king wants to honor. Here's what the king does to the man he wants to honor. Thinking it's all about him. And it wasn't about him. King said, go do that for Mordecai. Oh, what's happening? He goes and does everything the king said to do. And what happens is he goes back to the house and tells his wife and his friends who already been egging him on to do evil. He talks to the friends. And the friends say, oh, wifey says, don't look good there, husband. And while he's talking, they have to come and get him. Take him to the lunch. And at the lunch, this is where Esther puts it down. She drops the mic. She says, oh, king, I have one request. To spare my life and my people. And he's like, what's going on? He didn't read the decree. What you talking about, honey? What you talking about? Well, it's been destined that I'm supposed to be killed, honey. I know you love me, but I'm supposed to be killed. He said, what you talking about? And the scriptures talk about that he starts to have this conversation, and he finds out that she says here, the adversary, verse 6 of chapter 7, the adversary, the enemy, is the wicked Haman. Haman falls out. The king doesn't know what's happening because what's going on? He's so dumb he didn't read the decree. He doesn't know he's sending his own wife to death. And so he says here, the wicked Haman. So Haman was terrified before the king and the queen. And the king arose. He was so mad. He was so, they say wrath. He was pissed. He had to leave and just get out for a minute. And while he's gone, Hammond is falling out on the queen, begging for his life. And by the time the king comes back in, he sees, now you should know some things. You can't touch the king's women. You can be put to death. This is the queen. And the man has not only touched her, he laying on top of her. She's on the couch and he's on top of her. The king sees, not has he just touched her, he's fallen all over her body, his body, the king's queen. And so he says, I can imagine. He says, verse 8 says, when the king returned from the palace garden to the place of the banquet of the wine, Haman had fallen across the couch where the Esther was. Then the king said, will he also assault the queen? I mean, he's talking about physical, sexual assault. Will he also assault the queen while I'm in the house? As the word left the king's mouth, they covered Haman's head. Now, Habatha, one of the eunuchs, now he's going to get him back. Because, you know, when somebody's fooling themselves, they're fooling themselves to all the servants, all the lowly people, all the subordinates, all the people that they think are beneath them because they're superior. They have supremacy, remember? And so all them people that they done ugly to, this is when they're going to repay back that ugly. And it says, he said, look, the gallows 50 cubits high, which Haman made for Mordecai, who spoke good on the king's behalf, is standing at the house of Haman. Then the king said, hang him on it. And you're like, whoa, didn't the tides turn? But Mordecai never bowed. He never bowed. He never paid homage because he knew the only one that was worthy to receive that kind of glory and honor was the Lord. And many of us are bowing. We are bowing to the things of this world left and right. If it looks like you can get a little bit of something extra because you kiss up, you don't care the consequences of the kiss up, but you're just going to kiss up. You know what's right. You know what's wrong. God has taught you in his word what is right and what is wrong. If I had more time, I'd tell you to go to the story of Daniel and the 3 Hebrew boys. You'll see that in Daniel, those 3 Hebrew boys had people that were working with them. And they knew that they had built this big old statue. And long story short, the statue was edifying a man above God. And that's what we have 24/7. I get sick and tired of hearing the same name 100,000 times a day. Every day, every minute. You flip this channel, I hear the name, I hear the name, I hear the name. Do y'all wonder why he keeps doing foolish stuff? Because all he does is hear the name, hear the name, hear the name. Enough already. Well, this king, Nebuchadnezzar, he just loved himself so much that his little special advisor said, hey, let's build a statue and everybody has to praise you. When the horn blows, everybody has to praise you. But guess what? The 3 Hebrew boys said, we're not going to praise you. We're not going to do it. And all of their adversaries decided, well, if they're not going to do it, we got something to for them. And I'm just going to show you this one passage. I want you to read Daniel chapter 3. It'll take you only 5 minutes. But read the story where I can't read it all. But it says here, verse 16 says, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Those are the 3 guys. When the king says, if I blow this thing, you going to bow? I'm going to give y'all another chance. Are y'all going to bow? But look what they said. And they answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. We're not going to bow. It says, we're not going to answer you in this matter. If this is the case, meaning if we don't bow, we're going to die. If this is the case, our God, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace. And here's the catcher. And he will deliver us from your hand, O king. But if not, let it be known to you, O king, that we do not serve your gods, nor will we worship the gold image which you have set up. We have to get that boldness in the face of the fiery furnace, in the face of all the things that we are so afraid of. Death. We're going to lose our job. We're going to lose our house. We're going to lose our car. We're going to lose our bank account. We're going to be embarrassed. We're going to have all this stuff go wrong in our lives. And I just got to bow because I can't face the rejection. I can't face the humiliation. I can't face the loss. These Hebrew boys said, but if not, let it be known to you, O king, that we do not serve your gods, nor will we worship the gold image which you have set up. And I encourage you all tonight, look at your life. It's your life. It's the life God has given you. And he says, I always teach you all to go to Psalm 139, because when you get lonely, when you get afraid, when you're afraid of death, when you think of standing up and you just want to give up, you're so afraid, go to 139 and let him tell you how much he knows you. And there's a passage in 139 verse 5 that says that he puts a hedge in front of you and behind you, that he's got you. You don't have to be afraid. You don't have to bow. You don't have to give up and do what you know is not right. Trust God. Trust God. My last minute I want to share, for those who are there and don't know who Jesus Christ is, he loves you. You've heard many things about Christ, all the do's and don'ts, all the things about the 10 Commandments. But what I want you to hear is that he loves you. That if it was just you, he came to die for you. He's not counting on some list to say, oh, she did this, he did that. He's thinking this. He's this kind of person. He's made all these mistakes. He knew it all. And in spite of knowing everything that you've done from the time you've been little until you're now, and what you're going to do tomorrow and the next day, he said, I love you. And because of that love, I want you to know that I came for you. I don't want you to die thinking that you're inadequate, thinking that you're less, thinking that you're inferior. I love you. And all I'm asking you to do is receive my love and say to me that you can't handle this life without me. There's a part in the movie, The Help. And at the end of the movie, she goes and talks to this woman that's done all kinds of evil. And she said, ain't you tired? Ain't you tired? And for some of you, I want to say, ain't you tired of doing this life without Jesus? Ain't you tired of looking at yourself as inadequate about everything in your life that you're picking yourself apart on? Ain't you tired? And he said, I know you're tired. And I love you. And I'm begging you to come be a part of my life. Let me fill the holes, the void that you're filling with sex and drugs and alcohol and fake friends and fake jewelry and fake clothes and all this stuff that won't make you whole. Ain't you tired? He loves you. He says, come unto me, all you who are burdened and heavy laden, and I'll give you rest. Because he knows you're tired. And he knows Satan is trying to steal, kill, and destroy you. And he says, even at death, I got you. You don't have to fear death. You don't have to fear whatever they're threatening you with. I got you. And I want you to know that you are loved. If nobody's told you today that you are loved, Christ loves you. And it says, for God so loved. And you put your name instead of the world. For God so loved you that he gave his only begotten Son. And he said, and whosoever, you are the whosoever, I'm the whosoever that believeth in him will not perish, but have everlasting life. And that's beyond the diagnosis. That's beyond all the stuff that our bodies are doing, going back to the dust. You don't have to worry because he loves you. And that's important for you to receive. So tonight I just want to say thank you. We're on episode 53, which means somebody told me that 52 means a year, 52 weeks out of a year. And I want to thank you all for your prayers. Continue to pray. It's a new chapter. Faithy Pooh is going to college this Thursday, so keep her in prayer. And I thank her for all of the love and support she's done. We wouldn't be on Facebook because Faith let us know about the internet and the websites and all the things, and I just thank her for her encouragement and all of her many hours of helping us to prepare. And I thank you all for listening, and I pray that you continue on and have a good week, and Lord willing, we'll see you next Monday. God bless you.